Welcome, welcome. I'm glad you guys are all joining us. We've got wonderful Bryan O'Rourke with us here.
Oh,
And
my
we've
word.
got, and we've got Mike Lieber running this webinar for us. If you guys would do me a big favor, everybody I think knows how to do this, but if you would, please move your mouse, move it down to where you see the share screen button at the bottom of your Zoom. Go to the left, click on the chat box, please. And I would love you guys to type in what I can figure out your name. So let's just type in where you guys are from. All right, and that would be great. So just type in where you're from. Thank you. We got people from Georgia, Smyrna, Georgia, Athens, Georgia, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona, Chicago, New York, Minnesota, Virginia, LA. Is that Los Angeles or is that like Louisiana? Nobody lives in Louisiana except for Bryan O'Rourke. Okay, then we got Connecticut, Philadelphia. I am really pleased you guys are here. I'm thrilled to be doing this webinar. Bryan and I have known each other, we figured out, for about 115 years. And we were both Les Mills agents at the same time. And it started 15 years ago. So that's kind of cool. And then what we're going to talk about today, which I'm real excited about, is the fitness landscape has changed because of technology. And this pandemic has accelerated that technological advancements and the need for this and the way we are going to be dealing with this from now on. So Bryan is without a doubt the quintessential expert in this field. He's also currently an executive board member of URSA. He owns, how many companies did you say?
Well, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging because it doesn't matter, but we have 14 operating companies in Europe, Asia, and the Americas.
But what I thought you said is you just owned too many. Was that it?
I didn't say that, but yes.
Not enough. Yeah, there we go. So the focus for us is we're going to start talking about technology. First question we wanted to talk about is why is it more important than ever to understand and use technology in the fitness industry?
Yeah, first off, before answering the question, I want to tell you, Sarah, it's great seeing you. You're in Colorado. You look better than ever. I don't know what your secret is, but I'm very honored to be here. And thank you all for joining. Knowing you for so long and having, done business with you and knowing you, just a great honor for you to ask me to be here. When you ask the question about why it's more important, than ever to understand about tech in the fitness space for, instructors and professionals in particular, first I want to express empathy for so many of you in the group fitness and the instructor space who, are really going through a tough time. I don't know if you saw the videos, Sarah, that I did about things are going to get easier. But, I don't want to sound like some person being too rah-rah about tech in light of the fact that there's so much change going on and it's tough on people right now. So before I talk about the optimistic upside, change is hard. Many people are hurting out there in the ranks of the instructor professionals. And I just want to acknowledge that so I don't sound too flippant because it's real, it's real pain for a lot of folks. But to answer your question about what's more important than ever to understand about it, we can look at it, in a number of ways. One, a couple of them that are key are, number one is consumers and changing consumers. And the second thing are the careers of professionals that you serve at SCW. And I'll express what that means exactly. But on the big point of consumers, the first thing is this concept that you probably have heard about, something called the fourth industrial revolution. Economies have gone from agricultural to machine manufacturing to computing, and now the fourth era, which is called cyber physical systems. And there's a convergence going on that is impacting the jobs that fitness professionals are going to have. And those changes that I'll refer to have been going on for a few years. COVID just accelerated it. And so what do I mean by that? So 5 key dimensions have been converging to influence these shifts in our industry. One, of course, is technology, and largely that has to do with connectivity, the internet, devices, being able to be connected at all times. The second thing is globalism, where, the world for a trainer right now isn't their backyard or their city, it's the world, it's the globe. It also means competition can come from anywhere in the world. Third is demographic shifts. We're moving to multicultural, and we're very much age shifting. Our as much as the millennials have gotten a lot of attention in the last 10 years, the reality is that folks in the baby boomer marketplace have 12 times the net worth of their cohorts in the millennial market. They have a lot more money. And then related to that is next consumer behavior, that shift. And right now, 50 is the new 30 and 60 is the new 40. So a lot of the way we think about things as professionals in our space are going to shift. Other things like hyper-convenience and other ideas that consumers are experiencing as a result of technology are real things now. So that impacts expectation. And five is the final thing, is economics. So the ability for an instructor today to create content that reaches an audience is better than it ever has been. And you can see this when you think of instructors like, Casey Ho has 4 million YouTube followers, or Jen Selter with 12.8 million, or even Antonio Lockhurst out of Amsterdam with over 4.5 million followers. And there's a lot of people that can monetize their expertise in ways that weren't even impossible or were impossible 5 years ago. And as Kevin Kelly has talked about, if you have 1,000 really quality followers that are really willing to pay for your expertise, you can make a good living. So, when you think about technology, it's not just about the tech, it's about what the tech enables. Because the facts are the largest gym chains of the world don't sit in clubs. They sit on Instagram, they sit on Facebook, they sit on TikTok, and they sit on YouTube. So as more people figure that out, it doesn't mean that gyms are going to go away or studios are going to go away. I'm going to talk about that later. But think about fitness and the impact of technology in that broader sense, because that's what's really going on. It's going to create opportunity and, of course, challenges. That's a long answer, Sarah.
Yeah, but it's good. So if you could give me these 5 points really quickly.
Yep.
For us to overview.
Yep. So
Industrial revolution.
Yep. Technology.
Yes.
Yep. That's connectivity, the internet, processing devices. Globalism. The world is your market now. Everybody's a part of the same world, same competitive world. You can reach clients in Hong Kong just as easily as you can reach them in Chicago. 3 is demographic shifts. Changing demographics, aging, multiculturalism, different cohorts that are shifting the landscape of consumers. 4 is consumer behavior, convenience, age shifting, 50 is the new 30, many other things, convenience, hyper-convenience, hyper-personalization, the expectation people have. And then 5 is economics, new economic models. You don't have to build a studio to service clients. There's many ways to reach markets that are more economic than they would have been before.
Right. And, I listened to all this, and we've been talking about this. We've been doing a lot of webinars, and it's just like boom, boom, boom. And that's what we all see. And the SCW market is 74% Group X people, 60% personal trainers, and 27% owners, managers, and directors. Because we're 35 years old, they grew up with us.
Yep.
And that revolution, that cyber revolution that's happening, it's like we've had 2 years of time smashed into 6 months.
Right.
And one of the things that also really rings true is when you talk about aging. Do you know that we do the research after the shows? The number one trend is not HIIT, it's not BAR, it's active aging. Active aging It's our number one. It's our biggest room. It's what's happening. So I listened to this. I listened to what you're saying, and obviously, you're just spot on with all this. So, what should fitness professionals be aware of from a technology perspective that's coming right around the corner? What do we need to be ready for? Because it's not just the instructors and the personal trainers, it's the clubs. And where are we going to go?
Yeah, that's a big question, obviously. So the way to think about that is a couple of things, because it's a very big question. There is a bright future. Of course, I'm not going to predict it 100%, but I think the trends show what your community should be thinking about. First off, when it comes to big tech, you're seeing the continuation of building out big tech systems. And what that means is when you look at the fourth industrial revolution, when I use the term, a big word, cyber physical systems, I'll give you an example. So right now, if you're an influencer with over 10,000 people engaging on Instagram, you can become part of Amazon's program to get between 5 and 10% commissions on products you promote. That's a cyber physical system, and that's a business model that dials into that, that's monetizable. That's one example. You look at a platform like Noom with 50 million users, and you have health coaches that are part of that. I'm not saying that's the perfect, but it's an example of a new realm of platform economics with Noom. 50 million users that employ health coaches to interface with people. Consider Apple, 1.5 billion devices, okay? And you saw Fitness Plus being launched, 1.5 billion devices, 100 million users of Apple Watch, okay? And we're not talking about Fitbit and other things. Then think about Amazon Hollow, which is the new device with subscriptions. Prime Plus is 150 million users. Today, the number of people in the world consuming fitness via app and those kind of basic fitness tracking devices is about 1.5 billion people, okay? The global fitness marketplace in users is a couple 100 million, all right? Now, that doesn't mean that one thing steals from another. I'm gonna point this out. But when it comes to tech that's right around the corner, I wanted to create that context, Sarah, because Facebook has just enabled live events to be monetized for free. So now if you're a trainer, you're an instructor, you can go on Facebook, do live events and collect money at no cost. So as far as tech goes, devices and platforms are going to get smarter, faster, they're democratized. And as we see 5G come on board, which is the next thing on speed, as we see satellite connectivity coming on board via Musk's Starlink Link technologies, as we see what's going to come out here with Apple's patents, even smarter earphone devices, it won't just be about this, it'll be about that. We're going to get more and more data, gamification, and experiences that are going to be delivered in a digital world. And so that's just going to continue. And I'm not going to even touch on AR and other things that are probably from a mass market perspective 4 to 5 years out. But people are going to become even more immersed in this, and that's going to be an opportunity and a challenge.
What's interesting, Bryan, we just got a question from Nicole, and she talks about our active agers using different technology platforms for exercise. She's got more questions that involve that. But I think what we need to realize, and what Bryan's sharing with us, is that, okay, maybe me, Sarah Cooperman's not going to get 10 billion people watching my active aging chair yoga class. But what it's emphasizing is we need to get involved with technology. The Association of Fitness Studios did a research study. It was a small study. They had about 500 responses. 25% of the people who responded said they're not using technology and would not put anything either up virtually or on demand. And 23% of them said they never would. And it's just, that's not an option anymore, is I think what we need to, or you're going to be antiquated out.
Well, it's a choice, right? And I'm sure that certain markets and certain places might be able to survive. The other thing that I'd mentioned to Nicole is the fact that, and I've just looked at some research, I read it today, that the notion of the technology gap with active agers is continuing to diminish. The gap between millennials and Gen Z compared to boomers in technology adoption every year just shrinks. And in fact, it was accelerated from COVID. So the number of people doing Zoom calls, using tech to order product, doing other things that are in that active agent market is that there's less and less of a gap between them and younger folks. So, and to your point, Sarah, look, it's a business model decision, right? And people can take the benefit of it or not. And I know it's daunting for folks to think about because it seems like a lot, but to counter that, I can tell you this, in my opinion, by 2022, people are going to come back in droves for live classes. And think of this in this way. I use this analogy quite a bit. So Netflix streaming movies or music, digital music, in the 21st century, in 2020 to 2010, when digital music streaming was a big thing that launched in the 90s beyond, people talked about the death of the music industry, but the facts were that live concert performances increased by 300% during the same period. So what you tend to find is as more people consume these experiences digitally, they seek even more personal human experiences that are unique, and they pay for it. Look at Broadway, which has gone through a tremendous resurgence in the last decade. Look at live concerts, as I mentioned. The same's going to be the case. So digital, I believe, is just a gateway drug to experience.
And I'm gonna jump in here. I've mentioned this before for our people, but we started doing the live streaming certifications back in the beginning of October in 2019, and we just thought we would live stream our group fitness certification. And I'll be honest with you, my staff was not real pleased about it. And I like doing new things and trying. So we decided, we all agreed we were going to do this. But the presenter was very nervous. They said, well, why would someone go see, come to the live course when they can stream it? And they were very nervous we were going to lose this traction and this connection we had with the live participants. Yep. It ended up increasing our attendance, our live attendance, by 25%. And it doubled the total attendance because then we could accommodate the live stream. It's so if any of you out there are scared of streaming because you're worried about how it'll affect your live participation, please don't be scared. Please embrace it.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Sarah. And on top of that, when you ask the question, what should pros be aware of, right? And what's coming around the corner is cheaper and cheaper high quality phones that you can literally make movies on. The ability to subscribe to music license, for a very cheap license price. The ability to create content, the ability to use Anchor as a podcast platform to share content with your community. This is all free stuff, and it's just easier and easier to use, and it enables you to reach more and more people. So that's the good news, right? It may be unsettling for some people, but your personal brand, your expertise, especially if you, as a trainer or a personal fitness instructor, a fitness instructor, group fitness instructor, especially if you have niches that you want to serve, the more niche, the better. Because as I said before, Kevin Kelly, 1,000 fans can make you a very good living if you know how to reach them and create great content that's compelling.
Now, Nicole that did ask one more thing about the active agers, which I think is very, very important, which I find very significant, is there's a great fear that we're losing the socialization, that this isolation from the pandemic has really impacted people emotionally. The incident of suicide has increased. I know my cousin is a therapist. She's busier than she's ever been, and she gets to do it, through Zoom. But how are we going to embrace the socialization and increase it? What are your thoughts on that?
It's a big issue because that's the downside of tech, at least that people are dealing with until it becomes even more, until I can give you a hug, Sarah, and it feels like one, it's digital. The reality is that technology has not just, technology has been polarizing. When you look at the Edelman barometer, which is a measure of trust globally, it's at a low, low point right now. And a lot of that is because of the algorithms that Twitter and Facebook serve up, to get people's attention. So that hasn't helped. So there is a dark side to tech. A lot of government regulation is being proposed to try to monitor that. But I think, the best news is this. This is going to come to an end. And, then it's going to be a balance, right? Because what is human, as I'll point out later on in our conversation, I'll point out now, what's going to happen is what is human is going to become more and more important because of it. And so when it comes to thinking about professionals, motivation, caring, empathy, these things are going to be the true differentiators on service. Streaming is important, being able to deliver content and experience and support this way, about the new map or other apps that do that, that's great. But as people become more accustomed to that, having a beautiful smile, having a great sense of compassion, a comfort, a motivation, and that empathy, people are going to pay a lot for that, and they're going to want it a lot. So I think that's just going to continue. Once the pandemic subsides, I think there's going to be a surge of desire to get that.
And that's where we have to be encouraging and supporting and help our clubs and our facilities, our YMCAs, everywhere, whoever we work with, help them to survive and sustain through this, because then this will give us that platform to connect live with people.
Yes.
And so it's like it's making it through. And Bryan and I were chatting before while I was rushing around trying to find a pen. And before we turned on the camera, we were talking about when is this going to end? Yeah. And I was on the weirdest hike this morning with a gentleman that told me, interestingly enough, that if I can hang on, that at the end of this month, it's all going to end. The pandemic's going to be over. I was like, what? Like, even Trump hasn't told me that, like, what are you doing? He's showing me this algorithm about how it's the herd mentality and we got this, I don't know whatever he was chatting about, but we think that possibly, what did you say? You said,
I think 2021, I think probably mid, either in the summer, but who knows? I mean, early fall, I think, I'm hoping that's going to be when it kind of subsides. I hope it's earlier. If I had a magic ball, I'd tell you, but I think that's a general consensus, if I had what do they call it? A crystal ball. I think that's
it was a little scary, but very illuminating when you said there's a dark side to tech.
Yeah.
And it's because the minute I think I understand something and I've got it nailed, it changes. And when one program changes, it's like a snowball effect that changes everything else. But there is great change. I will tell you all, everybody's been very concerned about Zoom being unable to balance the video, the music, and the microphone. And right. Zoom figured it out. Right. They did an update about, 2.5 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago. They did an update, and now it's much more, it's much easier for us to balance as instructors to have the microphone and the music work systematically. So things hopefully are, even though there's a dark side, there's some light going on there, which is really.
And you take the good with the bad. I mean, every technology that's ever been created has unintended consequences. And then new technology is invented that corrects those consequences. So it just start being aware of it. Nothing's perfect.
So you mentioned all these I'm going a little bit off track. You mentioned all these, the Facebook, the Instagram, and TikTok. And yep. I'm like, oh my God, do you mean I have to learn TikTok? So what are your thoughts about posting everything, LinkedIn, on absolutely everywhere? Or do you focus on one? or where do you think the fitness industry is being the most successful?
Well, it depends on your market. It depends on the bandwidth of the person doing it, et cetera. YouTube can be very, fantastic. YouTube has stories now, so that's great. TikTok, there's some question about the longevity in the U.S. on TikTok. I only point out these particular people, and there, by the way, there are a lot of people that don't have, pardon me, multi-million followers that are, they have 10, 20,000 followers, and that's plenty enough, right? So it's a function of what you're comfortable with and what audience you're trying to reach, because of course, Facebook skews older, Instagram a little younger, TikTok even younger. So it depends on the content you're producing, where your audience is, and, the time you have to spend. I think that, if you're starting from scratch, that's one thing. I would start with one platform, build it well, and once you learn that, kind of matriculate. And with a lot of tools today, it's not that hard to do. But, you certainly want to at least be putting forth your capability and brand out to the market, no matter what platform you choose. Just make sure it's one that fits, what you're trying to reach. So active aging, Facebook would probably be best.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's great to know. And with technology evolving, and I hope it ends this month, at the end of this month, and we all go hiking together and look at algorithms on a cell phone. But if it does last through January or into all the way through June, what are we going to be left with after this pandemic ends?
Well, there's going to be a lot. Yeah, that's a big question. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish it. I interrupted.
No. Please go.
So, look, Ursa today on the Innovation Summit, their reporting was already 10% are permanently closed. I think that from a facility perspective, expect 25% of the market to be shut. But that's going to be temporary because then you're dealing already in markets with orphan members. You also note that older people, particularly females, skew not coming back as fast because, of course, health and other concerns. Depending on the marketplace, more educated people are tending not to come back, higher income not to come back immediately, but they will come back. And when they do come back, it's going to be a phenomenal experience for those that are sticking around, because you're going to see clubs and people doing business that they never thought possible, because of course there's been a culling of rooftops. And I think that people are going to want to experience that human touch more than they ever wanted to. They miss it, right? So there's, I think, going to be a very great fervor of enjoyment when this does happen and people can come back and feel safe.
I also am finding that people are getting very, very particular about the way they teach, the way they train. More people are getting more certified than ever. Instructors, our live streaming certifications are still going strong and very successful because they have more time to get educated. And just speaking for myself as a business owner, I have never been closer to my finances than I am now. And that cleans up your business.
Yep.
It cleans up the wastefulness, and it makes you invest in the areas that you need to invest in. So
that's right.
I think that there's always that, I don't know, hopefully silver lining or sunshine after the, what did you say again? The dark side.
You're never going to let me live that down.
Oh no, I would never bring it up again. Now, this post-pandemic, will the tech influence slide away, or is our industry forever changing right in front of our eyes, and this is just going to stick with us?
Yeah, it's going to stick with us in new ways, and a lot of them surprising and refreshing. So you think about faster connectivity via 5G, really fast connectivity, or Starlink satellite connectivity, cheaper and cheaper access to connectivity, processing power going up. The latest Apple Watch has 5 nanometer processors, which means that the chip in that watch has over 8 million transistors and can process 11 trillion processes at one time. So, you're going to see, that means that the transistors are the size of atoms, literally. So that means more and more processing power, the cloud, just constant connectivity. And what that means is new ways to interface with clients whenever and wherever they want. And that just is going to heighten, kind of increase the benefit of personal interaction, but the idea of new business models where, connectivity, frictionless connectivity, where, if Nicole is out there and she, I go to her classes, the opportunity for Nicole to deal with me or help me using a robust platform with AI even built in, that coaches her and supports her through my personality, wherever she is, becomes very scalable. It's a cyber physical system. It's very cheap. It's almost a zero cost for that incremental touch. So that these are things that are going to enable, just tremendous innovation and connectivity to grow the overall market. Because, as I pointed out earlier, Sarah, 1.5 billion devices on Apple alone, almost 1.5 billion people using fitness trackers and apps right now, the streaming wars, and then the new era of connectivity that I mentioned earlier. People are going to, just like music, they're going to consume more and more stuff. And that's going to expose them to new opportunities where in-person experience is going to go up tremendously. So I think that tech's going to continue to have its fingerprint all over the world of our industry after this.
Just so everybody knows, when Bryan refers to AI, it's artificial intelligence.
All right.
Like your cell phone, I'm talking to my husband and I'm rattling on about, oh, I want to go fly fishing. And then suddenly when I'm on, I'm Googling something and a fishing ad comes up. I'm getting phishing emails. This is not good. And it's not phishing like for new outfits or something that I would enjoy. The other thing, and I will, Julia, answer your question about I'm making more on unemployment than my gym's offer. What do I do? You hold on until your gym's open and you find a place to work.
Right.
And that's what we're really trying to do. But a lot of the frontline workers, and I'm saying the group fitness instructors, the personal trainers, we didn't charge at first because this pandemic was going to end by Easter. Then it was going to be over by June 1st. Then it was going to be over by September because, the summer months, it was all going to clear up. Now we're going to get another surge. And how do we deal with this? How do we, respectfully migrate to charging and still maintain that socialization? I'm here to help you, and build the humanity and the touch points for our clients. And it's hard for us to figure out how we're going to charge. And are the clubs being able to charge effectively for some of their online offerings?
Yeah, listen, people pay for what it is that they want, and until they can't get it, right? So it's about quality, it's about trust, and it's about defending the what you do in a positive way. I mean, people are more than happy to spend that money. I think the challenge is, to your point, Sarah, if you've been giving it away for so long, right? Why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? And I think there are different tiers. I mean, there's a lot of free content. There are ways to monetize that without charging clients too. As I mentioned, the Amazon influencer program, if you have a big enough following. So there's many ways to monetize now. And depending on, the instructor that wants to do what they want to do, or in a club environment, the idea of EFT itself, I think, is going to come under great assault. It already is. The way people pay is changing tremendously. So microtransactions are going to become a bigger and bigger thing. So, I think there are a ton of people willing to spend $5, $6, $10 a month to have access to quality content and support.
And I think they're doing that more and more.
Yeah.
Because they're not traveling, They're not going out to dinner. They just saved themselves $3,000. They're not doing the vacation they were going to do and go drive to, Louisiana and visit cousins. They're not doing, I'm not coming to visit, but they're not doing those things. And so some of them do have the disposable income that can pay for our services if we position it correctly online, even doing Venmo donation.
Correct.
I think Venmo's really simple for instructors and trainers to use, just because it gives you nice reporting at the end of the month so that you can pay your taxes and things like that.
Yep.
We also, Colleen asked, any thoughts on tech in the college campus environments? I don't know if you've, Specialized, looked at that at all.
No, I've worked in that vertical. I know you have as well, Sarah. I'm not an expert on the vertical, but I don't think that, I think, as you probably know, the college campuses have their own kind of unique situations, especially right now with COVID. Because there's a lot of people that are students that have gone back to school, and we see huge outbreaks in little towns that are very collegiately dominated. But as we talk about tech in general, I think the same trends apply in colleges, and probably more so than they do in other environments because of the user base. These are these are consumers and users that are extremely accustomed to frictionless commerce. So because they've been raised in that world where they've always had these things and do their business that way. And so if you don't create a user experience in that environment in that way, you're not going to be tolerated for much of the time. So I would think that those markets are even more demanding with respect to integrating technology.
And the frictionless technology, it's got to be simple. You've got to be able to go in, you got to be able to pay for it, you got to be able to access it. It's got to be simple, it's got to be fast, it's got to be easy. No more do we advertise like, well, go to our club, we give this and this and this, click here to learn more. And then you go to another page and they sell you even more. Look at our locker rooms, look at the group fitness classes, look at the personal training specials that we offer. And then you click to find out more. If you're going to, it's got, people want to know what they're getting and they want to know how to get it. And it's definitely got to be smooth. We also, somebody asked about, Julia asked about liability. This is very strange for the legal community right now, because how much responsibility do I have? How much real control do I have over my group participant, and especially over my personal training client? And how do I frictionlessly get them to sign a waiver? Because we need to get these informed consent forms. The liability and the responsibility are right there. You have a higher responsibility when you're one-on-one with a personal training client. It decreases when it's small group training, and it gets a little bit, I almost want to say, inconsequential with the group, but you need to get them to sign the informed consent form and the waiver liability, or you need to verbally say, you are exercising at your own risk. And you can't just say it in the first 10 seconds. You got to say it again, and you got to say it again. And that's a little bit scary, but I think that, Julia, thanks for bringing that attention. We still have to adhere to something like that. When we look at, how do we bring tech into the aquatics world, where many of the aging population want to work out in the pool? Well, if they don't have a pool in their home, I don't think a bathtub is an effective alternative, but there are some people who do, like the Floridians have been streaming some aquatic workouts. I think we've got time for one more question, Bryan. What has been the most exciting tech development to break into the fitness industry? What do you see that kind of surprised you?
It's a broad question, Sarah. So I think Facebook enabling live events to be monetized is a very interesting thing. I think seeing Fitness Plus, with our friend at Apple, that's pretty cool. I think the new headphone technology is very cool that's coming out. where you're going to have heart rate and other things going through your headphones. I mean, there's so many different things. I don't want to say it's one thing. I think that there's a lot to come. I think AR is still very, augmented reality is still very real. I think it's probably 36 to 60 months away from really being superly commercially viable for the industry space, just creating more experience for people. But to say one thing, it's tough. I gave you a few examples, and there's going to be more to come, some of which I couldn't imagine.
And I had a couple people actually asked, how do we interface with the health community, with the medical community?
Well, Apple's presentation on Tuesday was a great example of that. I mean, this is where technology is going to become very advantageous, because what's going on with big tech is this: the only way they're going to keep their market values high and growing is working with the top largest sectors of the economy, which they're not into now. And those sectors are education, housing, and healthcare. I mean, those are our big basic arenas, right? So you see Amazon doing that. You see Apple, as I mentioned, working with a number of health systems. They have a whole campus, as you know, Sarah, of houses where they're just tracking data from people literally 24/7, and figuring out how to create a platform where data can help people understand things and predict them before they happen. So even today, with my watch, with the new iOS 14, I went to wash my hands, and it came on and it said, coach me on how to keep washing my hands. Heart rate, blood oxygen levels, sleep patterns, and more to come, soon to be behavior, linking to, it's the data link. So what that's going to do is just create a much broader market for people who are professionals to help folks change their lifestyles, coach them, help them along their journey with technology behind them to support that effort. And that, I think, is going to be the linchpin to seeing this market explode. When you add in that the aging population, that preventable diseases through lifestyle management are still the big opportunity to cut costs and help people live healthier lives. I think that's going to be the kind of holy grail that's coming.
Now, lifestyle management,
Yep.
and it's quality of life.
Yep.
And we get dismissed very quickly out of any hospitalization. You're out of there. There is more outpatient surgery than there's ever been.
Yep.
There's less physical therapy being supplied than there's ever been. And these people come to us.
Yep.
And that creates possibilities and an economic value that we're going to supply these people. And that's a beautiful opportunity. And that's why I think, in part and parcel, the fitness industry is seeking more of these specialized certifications, specialized trainings. Oh, we have a corrective exercise certification now, a whole day. It's amazing, and it's filling up. So I think it's great that we're looking at this technology. I fear Ron Swanson. Okay, and if you guys ever watch Park and Rec, he's like, I'm off the grid, no watch, never talk about fishing. He doesn't even own a cell phone. It's not like that anymore, guys. We can't have this 25% of the population not engaging in technology. We all need to embrace it. If you are able to go in front of a classroom and teach a class, if you train somebody one-on-one and look them in the eye, you can learn to look into a camera, and it can work. And that camera, it doesn't even have to be a computer. It doesn't even have to be an iPod. It's your cell phone, and it is sophisticated, one of the best devices. We have a gentleman, Mike Lieber, who's our cinematographer at SCW. Mike is fantastic. And he was counseling some of our presenters, and someone wanted to go out and spend $3,000 on a camera. And he said, you know what, just, turn your iPhone around. You got it. I love Julia just wrote, yes, I am Swanson. Don't. once and walk away. So we're at time right now. Bryan, I'm going to ask you one last words of wisdom, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming. It's just a pleasure. But what inspiration can you leave us with to deal with this technology?
Listen, here's the good news. As I told you before, what is human and what you do as technology becomes more pervasive, if you learn to use it for the purpose of the greater good, you got involved in the industry in the first place, it's going to be better for you because, many of you have already been down this journey. You've spent a lot of time and effort helping people. Don't fear it. And also, God bless you for going through the trouble that you've gone through. It's been very tough times for folks. Keep the faith. Things are going to turn. When they turn, they're going to turn hard to your benefit. And if you keep your mind open, and please follow me, you can listen to my podcast on tech. I talk about these things. Keep the faith. You're going to do well. It's going to be fine. Just be patient as hard as it is.
And that's great. And Mike was kind enough to type in the chat box for you guys. It's BryanO'Rourke.com. So you guys can click on that. You can connect with Bryan. He's got a wonderful podcast that he does. Do you do it weekly?
Probably every other week. I don't do quantity. I try to do quality. So Sarah, I'm going to have you on next.
Okay, I'm going to be there. All right. That's if they ever let me out of Colorado or if I ever.
I don't think you want to leave Colorado, Sarah. I don't blame you.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Bryan, thank you so much. And take care, everybody. Keep the faith. We're going to get through this all. Thank you.